Hello, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Ratings show here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. Sunday, the 8th of March, 10 a.m. Doing this live stream with you guys and girls. Breakfast with BA and Pommy. We are here for the first installment of the Ratings in season 2026. Thanks to our great mate, Nick Horsburgh and Horizon Finance Group. Pommy, welcome back, mate. 10-goal loss just to kick things off.
Yeah, look, I had a good pre-season, a strong pre-season. Was ready to hit the ground running. Did I expect I'd watch this game back 4 times? No. Did I want to? Also, no. Am I glad to be back? Yes, though. I'm very excited. We've got brand new ratings, new rating system, new graphics, and the same great energy. We're going to get through this together.
Yeah. I've watched the replay. You've watched it a couple of times. Can you pinpoint what that third quarter was all about?
Look, I think as bad as it was, I think it's a combination of Sydney made some changes, Errol Goulden up around the ball, James Jordan checking Sam Walsh's run out the back of stoppage and clearance. And then just everything that went wrong did go wrong, and the boys were rattled. Rattled. In the end, hopefully it's an outlier. Hopefully we look back at this and laugh. 6, 8, 12 weeks. What worrying though, because let's be honest, I mean, all jokes apart, we've seen second halves aren't new. Let's be honest, are they? Second halves, we've done this rating show, 4 years? I would say 3. We've probably got 24 games a year, 4 years of ratings, 24 times 3 bare minimum. We've done this 68, 72 times minimum, to be honest.
Yeah. No, look, when I watched the third again, it was, and the most disappointing part of it all was just how much they were overwhelmed and then just went back into their shells. They showed signs in the first half about willing to do things that we hadn't seen much of, but that's all good and well, in the early phases of the game. When it gets to phase 3 or third quarter and, adjustments are made, just how quickly they retreated back into their shells. And they look quite lost out there and just completely lost their way. And then when you compound that with how dangerous Sydney can be with the types of players that they've got and the way that they're connected with each other and the momentum of their crowd and all of it, just like you said, what could have gone wrong did go wrong, and it was, too much.
Yeah, and look, not taking anything. I don't think you can get any positives out of that game, but we didn't have many injuries. That's where I am. I mean, look, I know people want to look for positives. I do think you've got to be real, though. Like, as good as the first half was from the Blues, it was 8 shots to 8 shots. The entries were a little bit better, but the same issues remain. When the Blues were at 110% and the Swans were at 70, 8 shots apiece for the half. And that's a big problem. You saw it in the last couple of weeks, in particularly this round. Gold Coast, when they had 110% round, they put so much scores on the board. Geelong were shell-shocked. You saw it in the Doggies game versus Brisbane, is case in point. Once they had their moment, they kicked so many goals, the game turned on its head. So that is definitely an area that has been a Carlton issue, I would say, since 2023. It's something that whatever the adjustment Voss made in 2024, where he said that it wasn't sustainable 2023, and he wanted to be a little bit more defensive, have more control. We started to hear the C word. That has definitely limited Carlton's ability to cluster goals. So it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be an interesting one how they fix it. A lot to fix. Not very long time. Short turnaround now, isn't it? Like Thursday, Richmond.
Yep.
Hopefully, the next couple of games we see this body of work Michael Voss told us about post-game.
Talk to me about the ratings this year. What's different? And if someone is tuning into the ratings for the first time, what do we do here on this show?
So what we try and do is we try and take the emotional out of the event, and we like to use data. Over the last couple of years, the algorithm has evolved, and I like a harsh rating system. I don't like 10s. I don't like 9s. I like it to be incredibly hard. So what we're doing this year is it has evolved into more of an Opta rating system, if you're familiar with the EPL. So that basically says average is being in the top 50% of the players that play opposition in the league. And I agree with that. I think a 6 is, in my mind, 5.5 is, in my mind, a C minus. Like, you're better than half. So you're going to see it very, very strict on players. And you're going to see it when we see the Sydney ratings, very, very strict. It's looking for perfection. It's not looking for flash moments. It's looking for consistency across the board in your position compared to everyone else who plays that position in your role in the league. To start the season, we're comparing these players in the last 10 games of players in their position. So it's no longer a short catchment of players or a long catchment. It's a very form-based. So we're going to keep up with the trends we see in the AFL. And you do see some shortfalls, particularly I want you to look out this week for midfielders, because the game has moved on from midfielders who accumulate to midfielders that actually impact and do something with the ball. Years ago, that was a good thing. We are now in the death of the Tom Mitchell, Jack McRae era of finding a lot of the ball. Now it's all about impact. The best midfielders in the competition do something with it very quickly. Efficiency is huge. Turnovers against are huge. And the big one, if you watch the best video I've ever done, and as always, when I do a really good video, people don't like data, but there is an off-the-ball stat that we created, which is incredibly important over the last 10 years using that metric, using an off-the-ball reading. It is almost the ladder of the last 10 years. So it's probably the closest you can replicate. And that's because sport nowadays is done with what you can do without the ball, which is why Sydney stayed close in the first. It's why Western Bulldogs beat Brisbane last night. What you do without the ball pretty much wins you the game. So, because it's why opposition can't stop you when you haven't got the ball. There's no tactic that exists in the world that stops how you apply yourself without the ball and getting into position. So that's going to be a huge stat this year. And that's something that Carlton feature very poorly without the ball. One of the worst sides in the league.
Yeah. Okay. So we take the numbers from the game, we put them through your algorithm, spits out a rating, and I think the big difference there is that we're comparing them to the league. Every single player and position will be compared to the same position in the league over the last 10 games to keep it relevant.
Yeah, keep it relevant. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, I wish we had other stats to use, but I mean, here we are.
Here we are. All right. Let me see if I can just let me fix this up here. Hang on. Let me fix you here. We're going to go there. I'm going to make us a little bit bigger. We're going to go player by player. Let's start with Lewis Young. We'll start as the team was named. So I'll just fix us up. But tell me about Lewis Young.
Lewis Anthony John Young. This is a fascinating game with Lewis. Obviously, probably the most picked on player when the team was announced. Like, I think universally, I don't think I heard anything good about Lewis Young at all. Did struggle. The big thing with Lewis is when you watch him, and I think it's a real simplistic way, like this is without going into deep dive of what Lewis does wrong, is I would say probably across the AFL, the lowest intelligence levels from when do I mark it, when do I spoil it? And it gets him into trouble, particularly when you're looking at Carlton, particularly in that first half, are looking to get the ball back and get up the ground as quickly as possible. When someone's spoiling, especially when it's an uncontested mark situation, it's just adding another layer of energy expelled. So what do I mean by that? I mean, when he spoils it, it means Saad's got to chase and try and get a ground ball with 3 players. It instantly puts you under pressure. It's very labour intensive when it's quite easy. Just mark it, do a little dinky kick and on we go. So this is like adding an extra 5%. Imagine petrol in your car. And imagine the harder you run and work, that goes down. We're it's almost like revving your engine at the traffic lights. You are wasting fuel for no reason. That's going to be an area because teams target it as well. You saw that when they had a loose outlet ball, they went down to that right pocket, knowing that he wouldn't be keen on marking it. He did look a bit finicky. Good highlight. He was the first person to bump Charlie, which, look, I said it in my preview, and I said it with you, Terry. The stupidest thing Carlton could do was play on emotion, and it ultimately bit us in the arse big style in the third quarter. These players aren't physical. They aren't that type of player. And I always say it, if you are an introvert and you start playing the emotional game, you're going to get burnt pretty quickly. And I thought Lewis got burnt very quickly with that, like very quickly.
Yeah. He wasn't alone.
He wasn't alone. I don't want to pick on him,
the emotional discipline.
I will.
Of the whole thing. Yeah.
But I will counter this. This is my counter argument. I'm going to try and do a counter argument for every player. I think from Michael Voss's standpoint, whether I agree or whether you in the audience do, Wade Dirksen has never played an AFL game. So I think there is an argument that Voss was like AFL experience versus the unknown in the furnace of the SCG.
Yeah.
Against a very good team. Did he back the wrong horse? We will never know. I can't tell you what Wade Dirksen would have done. But I think that's what he did. I think that's what he was looking for.
Yeah, I think there's a few players who are in the same boat where you go for, okay, this is going to be a furnace. Do I debut? I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk about Lockie Fogarty and Taylor Byrne. That's the popular topic of conversation there. I think there's a similar story there. I went to the VFL yesterday. Maybe I'll touch on it a little bit later in the show. But anyway, let's go to Lewis's Young's rating. It was 3.5. Okay. So then we move along. Let's get to Jacob Weitering. What did you make of Weiters in his game?
So this was an interesting game. In the first half, I thought Weitering was very good at leading Charlie into them untapered waters. And the first half, the reason that Charlie didn't kick any goals wasn't Jacob Weitering's brilliance. It was what we talked about when we were together on Monday. You've got to make the ball ugly. You can't make it clean. They can't have clean inside 50s. Means Charlie's going to go roaming and looking for the ball. And I thought Weitering did incredibly well in the first half. Not so much defending, but leading him into them shallow waters, leading him into the spaces. See a lot of them red marks there. He moved Weitering. I mean, he moved Kerno into that higher up the ground where Charlie's going to either have a punt at goal or give it off. In the second, though, it was almost impossible for Weitering. And we've seen it against North, against Larky. There is an element of Weitering's got such a high standard that he's a brick wall. That when it's coming in as frequently, as often, as quality, as unpressured as that, you're going to get exposed. So this game here was really, really, really bad for Weitering in the terms of he probably had a lot to deal with, which it was tough for him. And I don't think many players in the league could have actually done this under that duress. People forget that defenders get all the plaudits when up the ground does really well. When up the ground doesn't do so well, people start pot-shotting defenders. Probably let down a little bit by his midfield, but I thought in the second half he gave Charlie way too much respect, like way too much respect. And Charlie started leading him, and he got caught in no man's land a few times. So
you could see
tough game for him.
You could see the contrast. I mean, all around the ground, but with someone like Weiters, I mean, they were really looking to switch the ball and work the ball through him in that first half. I don't know what the possession stats are broken down as in the first half and the second half, but once everything went to sea in that third quarter, I remember watching it on Thursday night, and then again, he was just so conscious of not getting goals scored on by Weitering. But the way the ball was entering the Swans forward 50 in that second half, I mean, they were at sea. And I don't know what the midfielders' ratings are going to be, but I dare say they're going to get a lot of points taken away for what happened in that third at stoppage.
Yeah, and I mean, I think for Weitering, I think what you've just said there, I don't want goals kicked on me.
Yeah.
I'd say that every sportsman, every human being has a default status. And a default status, I call it the run home to mummy status. When it gets a little bit hard and the doubt creeps in, there is certain types of traits human beings exploit. One of the most common traits is self-preservation. How can I leave this situation with the less mental and physical scarring? And for Weitering, it is definitely goals against. That's a good thing. You're a defender. I do think at times, though, second half, particularly when Weitering did have the ball, he was kind of the captain of let's go long. Let's lose the control and let's go back to the old way. And that was partly because Sydney slowed the game down and gave Carlton that option. The kicks were a little bit more harder. And that is probably the next element of Weitering's game. I said it at the start of the year and I stand by it. I don't care if Carlton lose. It's the way they lose. If they're going to go and play quickly and slingshot off the back, cop the 100-point loss playing it that way. Don't go back to the old way after doing the new way for 2 quarters and then get upset about it because you've already ruined your development. So Weitering has to be that captain almost down the back and go, no, we're opening up the corridor. No, I'm looking for the switch. Follow me, boys. Because when your leaders start doing it, everyone's going to start doing it. So tough day at the office. It was a hard get. To be fair, I think he had the worst job in the league because he would have been sat in front of him and what was a midfield that was putting pressure suddenly didn't. And suddenly the ball was coming in. It was like Tullamarine. You know what I mean? Mate. Checking, wasn't it? Like for Weitering, it was just one after another. So kind of being harsh on him, but he's got to do it. He's got to do it. He's got to be like, you know what? Let's just do it.
Yeah. So he gets a 4.8 for his game. Then we get to young Harry Dean, who debuted on Thursday night. Chat, what do you make of Harry Dean's debut?
So, well, I mean, the first stat we've got to look at here straight away is the 7 marks. And this is... If you go into the third quarter, there's a few players that we're going to talk about who were very, very impressive. And the reason they were impressive, there was no statistical data that actually said they changed the way they play. Harry Dean took it on. He played the same way in minute 1 as he did in minute 132 or whatever it was. He was strong, and that is a good sign. Because a lot of them in the second half, it got tough. They were calling their mums. This time, Harry Dean was like, this is the way I play. I attack the ball hard. If I don't get the mark, my follow-up work was exceptional. And I also love the way that he looked to try and get the game on his terms, bring it forward. It was a very commendable debut, and it was a horrible debut. I don't think anyone wants to play in the back line at Carlton, particularly in that third quarter. I thought he was one of the few that came off the ground and could probably look himself in the mirror and go, I did what I did.
Yeah.
No regrets. And fearless.
I noticed pretty quickly with him and Jagga, who we will touch on. But, I mean, Jagga's always been a quick player, and he's been in the system for a year longer, I was mindful of Harry Dean's the timing element, that the step up to the AFL level, and whether or not he would feel comfortable at the level with the speed of the game. There was a passage of play in the first quarter, maybe 10 or so minutes in, where he faked out the Sydney player and just had the composure to switch decisions mentally before kicking it to, I think he actually did kick it to Jagga in the end. He looked to settle into the speed of the game a lot quicker than what I thought he would. And yeah, if you're looking for something practical to move forward with, this kid's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, look, my notes, I'm just looking at my notes on my computer from doing the watch along.
Yeah.
Second quarter, my notes were, wouldn't it be great to see Hazo F? Like, I thought him and O'Farrell were very similar. They attack the ball. It's modern day. It really stands out like a sore thumb. For someone that played almost a pseudo tall position, to have a double-figure score on the AFL rating is quite impressive. Our first two key position guys, horrible scores, but genuinely in losing efforts, the AFL rating gives you a little bit of love. That just shows how well he did. So I was very impressed with Harry Dean. Big year ahead. Let's hope he keeps that vigor and that bravery, and it doesn't get tapered.
So he gets a 5.2 for his game. Slobbo's here.
Hey, the Slobbo.
Matthew Lloyd is the biggest flog. Great work, Pom.
You know what? Fair play to Matthew Lloyd. I mean, if my brother was as shit as is, would I have the arrogance to talk about the club he destroyed? Probably not. But I mean, fair play to him. I'll commend that.
Yeah. Tell you what, it's been a week for people waiting for their time to potshot their club coming out of the woodwork, isn't it?
Yeah, but there was a collective sigh of finally from the media, wasn't they? Like them articles were written way before that result. I tell you now,
they were in the drafts folder. Just it was like a Control-C, Control-V, save, publish.
Get on ChatGPT and just put just put Carlton got demolished by Sydney. Can you add me a starter paragraph? Do you know what I mean? Like literally, what was going on?
Like me. All right, let's move along. Zack Williams, very interesting game that we're going to talk about here, because he lined up through the midfield a bit. He obviously did play behind the ball. He was named behind the ball. How do you rate a guy that plays multiple positions in with this algorithm? Like, what's he compared to?
Well, I mean, what you're doing here is you're having to manually check the GPS data and try and have like his role at that time rated in that quarter. Luckily, with Carlton, we're quite a simplistic team. We do like quarters of stuff and then we shelve the plan. But the best way I can describe it is 2023, and this is probably the only positive I can take from this game. In 2023, we were very commendable of Adam Saad and him playing that extra around stoppage, particularly who was a halfback. Zack Williams is the natural person to do that. And that first half from him, what was it, 6 or 7 clearances in the first half, particularly around stoppage, gave Carlton a different look, very direct, was really, really strong from Zachy. And you can see there the AFL ratings is backing that up. It really liked the game. This was a real positive for me. Now, I know loads of people have said Zack Williams is not a defender. This is going to blow Carlton fans away. Like, it's going to absolutely shock them. But most teams don't focus on vanilla roles. So when you look at all the top teams, particularly the Doggies, Brisbane, even GWS, they don't play 7 defenders and all 7 of them are just defensive roles. They build probably 2 or 3 with some real offensive flair. This was actually quite a positive from Carlton for me, because I was like, okay, we're usually very vanilla and bland in this back half of the ground. The only way we can get better is having someone like this. The issues were in the 3rd, 4th quarter where, for whatever reason, he was lined up on Heaney for a while. That's another coaching issue. Heaney on Zack Williams, not for me. But all in all, this is the cherry on top type player. If everything else works, this guy should be able to deliver you to where you need to go. So I'm not willing to pot shot Zack Williams. His job in this team was to get Carlton going. No one in that coaching panel should have been thinking, you know what, though, when it gets tough, we'll play Zack Williams lockdown. Like, no one will. The role he needs to look at, and the best way I can describe it, is Connor Buderick played a similar role. Typecast at Gold Coast as a lockdown defender. This year, Doggies, go out there and have a bit of fun. Play a bit of freedom. We'll defend for you. So that's... I hope this is traditionally under Michael Voss the role that gets killed first. The offensive player. And that worries me. I hope this week Zach's told to do the same.
Same thing, yeah. I mean, he had 7 intercept possessions in the game. The thing about his game, what he did in the first quarter, and he was very lively. I would love it. It was almost like it's the ace in the sleeve, but we're playing it from the first quarter rather than in the third quarter. It's like, all right, let's change it up. So I don't know what else you can add to this team in that third quarter to make it look different. But I mean, the Swans, once they started winning the ball the way that they were in that third quarter, it was very hard for him to play off and read the play the way he was in the first quarter. And I don't know, how does it show you how much he played on the ball in the second half compared to the first? Wouldn't have been anywhere near the same, right?
No, it wasn't. I mean, look, Carlton traditionally, when they don't get first use, like Sam Doherty has repeated what we've said on the ratings for 4 years. So it didn't really bother me when Sam Doherty said that, because we've said it before. Carlton are a first use side. That is a problem when first use goes. Carlton's plan is almost to flood the back line, shelve anything offensive. Where people are talking about Kingsley is probably the most riskiest coach in the league in the terms of he had a lot of regulars out. Me and Terry talked before the game, and we both came to the consensus GWS were going to win. So we could see it happening. He doesn't have a plan B that is stagnant. His plan B is, okay, fight fire with fire. That is where Carlton need to go. That third quarter, let's make this clear. The way that Sydney played, it was tough for any side to do it. I'm not validating this result, though. 12 goals is deplorable. It's probably 4 goals against a good team. 4 goals more than a good team, and that's redeemable. You can pull yourself back. But what we do versus other teams, they would have met fire with fire. So Zack Williams would have still had that role, and Carlton would have maybe played an extra behind the ball at stoppage in the air to try and get Zack Williams there on the ball. It was quite funny that we made their job easier in the third, Terry, because once they did that little negating roll, knowing Sam Walsh was going to do that loopy run out the back, we shelved Williams. So we moved Williams straight away. So suddenly we said to Sydney, you stop our 1 wood, our 3 wood, Williams, we're going to take away from you. So we're not even going to use him. So it was effectively stop Walsh. Williams isn't going to be there as an auxiliary. That's a problem. But this is where people get a little bit deceived, Slobbo, can't kick. Look at how Carlton played in the first quarter. So if you are a Carlton fan and you want Carlton to be a good kicking side, I'm going to give you a news flash. Until Carlton bring in 8 to 12 players, don't watch the game. Netball is always looking for people to watch. The NFL has a budding outside. EPL teams desperate for overseas fans. Ain't going to happen. What Williams does is Carlton were playing a kick-chase game style, which is the only way they can negate their lack of foot skills. So when people go, oh, but we'll just be good kickers. Zack Williams has never been good, even when he was a junior. So at kicking. So that's not going to happen. What his role is, get the ball, get it moving forward, which is why in the first quarter, Sydney were a little bit shell-shocked. And that's what got us to the prelim final. It wasn't good kicking. It was good territory management. So unfortunately, no one is going to be a good kick in this side until we get 8 players. And it'll be kind of monotonous if we keep saying they can't kick. Okay. Probably 4 players on our list can.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to hang them with. We're going to be here It's going to be here for ages. Yeah, but equality, you're simplistic. You're simplifying it, and that's really bad. You should never simplify things, because being a good kick to me is looking at someone like prime Lockie Whitfield who's going to thread a pass, or Sam Mitchell with his little short kicks. He was just a territory footballer, which goes to a good level of what Carlton want to do. So when Carlton in the first half, when everyone was having fanfare, it was almost like France. If you watch rugby union, how France play rugby union at the minute, kick chase, shake it down, chase the ball, pressure it, create a stoppage. That is what Carlton were doing, which on a big scale is what Gold Coast do. So, but Slobber, I agree with you, right? Raise the standard of training, but I can't make you win a golf major, no matter how good a coach I am, if you haven't got that skill set. Do you know what I mean? I can't make you a singer unless you have basic talent. So there's players, how a list is formed. People have this really simplistic view of how a list is made. A list is made through a concoction of balance, and then the system suits the balance. So when you watch Gold Coast play, for argument's sake, you couldn't replicate Gold Coast system at Richmond. On the counter, when people say Brisbane do this, if Carlton copy Brisbane, we'd lose by 90 every game. So Carlton have got to play to their onwards, which is, unfortunately, what Michael Voss tells you, effort, intensity, effort and intensity. So what you're thinking is Carlton's list, and to answer your question, Slobbo, brilliantly, Carlton's list is made up of an era when their window was actually 2020, 2021. I will guarantee it right now, Carlton thought they were flag winning competing 2021, 2022, 2023. If you go back to that era of football, and we call it an era because games changed, everything was physical, everything was condensed, some teams were slingshot. The old school method was pressure, 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 pressure. Now, everyone's going lighter, everyone's going quicker. Speed is the new one would.
Yeah.
Carlton are having to play catch up from almost sticking to that list strategy for 2-3 years when everyone else was moving on. So Carlton now are behind the 8 ball. The big thing you've got now, the shortfall, is when you hear Michael Voss speak, and the best way I can describe it to you is Michael Voss is every over 50 in education in the world, in coaching, in teaching, where they believe effort trumps everything. So an example I'll give you, and I gave it on my live stream, which people liked, is I went to school with this guy called, we'll call him Harry, right? He had dyslexia. When we were in 9 years old, we had this horrible teacher, right? And you could see he was struggling. I used to fuck about. I used to undo my mate's bra, flick his ear. I'd fly through school. Harry would stay quiet and always fail. Every lesson, when he got 4 out of 20, the teacher would be like, you don't quit yourself enough. You've got to try harder. You're not trying, Harry. You're getting distracted. While I was fucking about, I never got that because I passed. He would struggle. Long story short, he comes back to my class in secondary school and he's got special glasses for his dyslexia. He's got all the help he needs. He's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But that's the old school mentality. If you're not good at something, just try harder. Where when you're intelligent and with the help of psychology and science, we found method always beats effort because effort's only got a plateau. With a method, that helps people reach the ceiling quicker with less effort. But when they put effort in, it's really good. So that's what Voss has got to learn. He keeps saying, you listen to Voss at the end of every game, everything is effort. It's never skill-based.
It's working harder, not smarter.
Exactly. But that is, and my granddad loved him to pieces. That was his mindset. You can't do this. Just work harder, son. Try harder. And I'd be like, well, I can't. Do you know what I mean? I can't. But But that's what we've got to precise right now.
Yeah. All right. Zack Williams, 5.1. Let's move along. Adam Saad. Can someone confirm, is he actually injured? I don't see anything where it says he's actually done a hamstring injury.
He was listed as injured.
Yeah.
Via the AFL.com, which is usually that thing. So, I mean, this one here is a fascinating one. Now, I don't want to pick on Adam Saad. Go back to what we just talked about with Zack Williams. You've got to have offensive players. Saad here, it feels like there's too much without any point of difference with Saad. So, for Zack Williams' role to continue, which I hope it does, Adam Saad's has to be phased out.
Yeah.
Has to be phased out for me. Because this was kind of what we'd expect to see Nick Newman do. There is moments of Saad that are really brilliant, but the big vulnerability of Saad is he gets overrun and gets caught out of position, particularly on transition quite a bit. He anticipates Carlton to move quickly. He gets caught in that no man's land, which allows players to come in from behind, overlap and overrunners. It was a tough game for Saad. It was a tough game. It's sad because I don't feel like, for me, when I have Adam Saad in my team, I'm running it off halfback. I don't think we're that side. And unfortunately for Saad, if you did like a spider graph of how he plays football, all of the peaks would be at pace and running, Terry.
Yeah.
But then when you get to like ball use, defensive, it wouldn't be there. So it's a tough one for Saad.
So I see a few things here. So hamstring tightness is what apparently has been said. I'm sure we'll get an update tomorrow or Tuesday, whatever it is. I look at it maybe too simplistically. The next version of Adam Saad in this team is apparently going to be Billy Wilson. Would you say that's or Matt Carroll is one of those two? Is that what the next layer is coming through?
I think it totally depends on how Carlton wants to play Terry. Like for me, watching how Voss plays, this is probably better being Newman. And you got big defense and allow Williams a bit more freedom.
Right. Okay. So all three of those guys, well, two of them are injured, one of them is suspended. I would agree. I think it's Carroll, Newman. Carroll played 3 quarters in the VFL yesterday, played a bit more on the wing. Again, I only saw 2.5 quarters. I missed the first quarter and a half. So that might be a solution for next week. Saad notoriously does a hamstring when he's playing during Ramadan. So there is that. The other thing I noticed, and I've turned my eye to the rest of the league this year, and I texted you. I'm going to be on the lookout, and I'm going to encourage all of you that watch this show and every other show to do the same thing. Where you can either draft these players, recruit them through the draft, or recruit them via trade free agency. I saw a kid yesterday. I don't know how realistic it is to get this kid. He's 21 years old. He defends, plays on the small forward. He played on Nick Watson yesterday. He's got pace. He's got kicking ability. And I watched him yesterday, and I thought, wow, is this a young Adam Saad? Different characteristics, obviously, but you get it. And his name's Joe Fonte. Now, are the Giants going to give away Joe Fonte at the end of the year? Probably not. But I don't know if Billy Wilson's going to be good enough to take over Adam Saad. Carroll, I think he's got something there. I don't know if he's going to be playing on the wing, behind the ball. Don't know what's happening there. Newman, I got a lot of trust in Nick Newman to play at a high level, but is he going to play at a high level, and is he going to be at the club in 3 to 5 years from now?
Good points. Good point. I mean, look, this here at the minute, I think we have so much depth in the backline in this position.
Yeah.
But no clear methodology of what we want to do. And that's probably my reservation. Like, I can see what he's trying to do, but I don't think he's using the right personnel. Counter, this game's hard to tell because
fair.
Like it's hard to tell. Like, if it wasn't that third quarter, would it have worked? Hard to tell. But I do feel, for me, we need a little bit of, I'd like a little bit of defensive acumen around Jacob Weitering, particularly in the small area. And I do like what Williams was trying to do, and I think that's easily replaced in the league versus this. So this is going to be interesting what Voss does with this.
Yeah. I will also say, for those that are thinking that Carroll's going to come in and just be better than Adam Saad, Carroll's got this go about him, intercept marks. He's there. He's kicking. He's not better than Adam Saad. And you can have whatever opinion you have on Adam Saad's kicking. So it's just be very mindful of putting the hope in people that are in the VFL.
Fair.
So Saadi, 4.7, and we'll have an update on his injury in the next few days. Let's then go to Mitch McGovern. I'm already noticing here with our defenders a lot further up the ground than what we were seeing them last year, even in losses.
Yeah, Carlton were trying to look. I mean, Sydney is a long ground, not very fat, so you're naturally going to condense the ground and try and make it a little bit shorter and playing where you've got. This was an interesting one, because I think Carlton it would be interesting if Harry O'Farrell was there, what would have happened.
Yeah.
But this was an interesting one. I feel people were asking about Kingsley earlier, but Kingsley plays very bold and aggressive all the time. It would have been interesting if he would have gone, everyone's comparing them, and I don't like doing it, but it would have been interesting how he would have approached this game. With experience, or would he have backed in youth? Would he have backed in the unknown? My issues with McGovern is always the same, really. It's very good when it's good. It's very poor when it's very poor. And this is where I think Carlton need to find the balance. We've got Weitering. We can't dine out on Weitering just closing people down all the time. We need some accompaniment pieces. Mitch, for me, isn't that guy. I love Mitch, but I don't like it, Terry. I just feel time has gone in this type of role now. And I'd rather play a lockdown and be a little bit more ostentatious in the intercept.
I didn't mind his game. I didn't think this was the type of game to overly criticize Mitch. I thought he was one of the more positive movers of the ball.
He moves it. I just feel there's a lot of, like, in that third quarter, a lot of lazy kicks, Terry. If you're playing that role, you attack, you take it on and you execute. He's not alone, Terry. There was about 13, 14 players that probably did the same in the third. But you are at this once you're over 28, I'm looking at you to be the example, to be the leader.
I totally get. Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, there's just also the reality of, okay, just said it earlier. Nick Haynes didn't play. Would he have played in this position instead if he was available? Nick Newman, Carroll, Cowan, these types. The only other one potentially Wade Dirksen, but I don't know who people wanted to replace. Sorry, I don't know which position Wade Dirksen replaces. Is it Lewis Young's position, or is he more of a Mitch McGovern replacement? So I'd be curious to see how many of these guys in the back line are playing when everyone's available.
Yeah, I mean, look, it'll be interesting. I'm willing to give a little bit of grace in the terms of what selection looks like. It's round 0. So what I'm intrigued about moving forward is, does Voss go in again with the same backline? Does he obviously, the way I can explain Young in, he went with AFL readiness. Mitch McGovern, AFL readiness. Yeah. I want to see what happens next week. Does he go with the same mantra, older guys, more experienced, or does he roll the dice? So that's going to be interesting what he does.
Yeah. Blues Forever 41. The blue dots, these are the possessions. So the what you're seeing here is a heat map for where every player had a possession on the ground. So we're kicking to the right of screen when you see a heat map. So obviously we're looking at the defenders right now. So you'll see a lot of them on the left side of the ground here. Now, Mitch ended up getting a 4.2. Interesting. What was the thing that cost him the most?
Well, the big thing is impact, goals against, and obviously Carlton way above goals against, but also when you've only got to watch Mitch McGovern's game. Few loose turnovers, high percentage plays that went down, big style. Let's see what the back end did on his algorithm. Where did he really get punished in the algorithm? If we're looking at Mr. Mitch, where are we? Why is that? Oh God, that's not good. I can't tell you, Terry, exactly. The system's crashed and it's making me restart my computer. So
it's the third quarter of the
we don't want to do
that. All right. Ollie Florent made his debut for the club. This one looks very busy, this heat map.
Yeah, so this was a nice performance. I really like this. This was everything bad about this game. There was a lot of positives when you watch how he goes about it. And I really enjoyed his endeavour this week. That was nice to see. I think we get clouded in this position, but these types of positions in the AFL, this was kind of more in line with what I'd expect to see with other halfbacks and players this role. Very busy, very looking to do things. The turnovers and mistakes he made, I can actually tolerate because he was one of the few in the back line that did the same thing all the time. And what I mean by that is when you watch a lot of the Carlton, particularly Mitch McGovern, particularly Adam Saad, what they were attempting in the first quarter and the second quarter died very quickly in the third and fourth quarter. So I can always get behind you when you're attempting to do that. So when you're attempting to do that, that excites me because that's what the best do. They don't change. They don't change when the going gets tough. So it's going to be exciting to watch Ollie Florent, just how this develops, in the long term for the Blues.
Do you see him? I mean, he had 11 intercept possessions in this game. Do you see him being that type of player all season long? Or, like, I mean, how do you get the best out of Ollie Florent?
Well, he needs to be fed the ball. I enjoyed the fact that he was trying to shark the opposition. He was willing to come off his man. So it's going to be an interesting one. Voss talked about cohesion and gelling. Very interesting comment that, because I actually thought that the players that were new looked better than the players that had been there a long time. Ollie Florent seemed to understand where Ollie runs to, understands where Mitch McGovern is a lot better than some of the guys that have lived and played together for 5-10 years. So interesting where Voss went with that. But I really like this. I like this game. This game was a game that I'm intrigued to see a bit more. I want to see a little bit more. But I'm a big Florent boy. I like these types of halfbacks.
Yeah. I mean, also can't underestimate what the emotional investment in the game for someone like him. Hayward, I mean, Kerner would have been the same for the Swans. I think we'll see an even better version of Ollie Florent from here on in, because I mean, this game on Thursday was always billed to be this big thing, overhyped what it was, the storylines, and when you're playing against your old club for the first time, a lot of players talk about how it's hard to stay in the moment. So, having said that, I thought he was okay. He's a lot tougher than what I thought he was too. He wasn't afraid to get stuck into people, which I liked. There was an edge to him.
Yeah, look, I mean, the accidental on purpose knee drop is always a delight to watch, isn't it? I mean, we do like them kind of things. As football fans, we're going to appreciate them types of things. But yeah, I thought he flew the flag pretty well. And I was impressed. I've always liked Ollie Florent there.
So a 5.5 for Ollie Florent as we start moving into the midfield, and we get to Sam Walsh. What did you make of Sam Walsh?
So, look, I love Walsh. He had a lot of it. 32 touches, looks in great knicker, doesn't he? Like, he looks strong, fit, running well. There's nothing more iconic, in my opinion, than Sam Walsh doing that little Renault Espace 3-point turn.
Yeah.
Which it always turns me on. But bearing in mind, good midfielders and great midfielders, there's a separation. They don't need 30 touches to change the game. And this is where I'm being real high level on Walsh, because I want Walsh to be in the top echelon of players. The second half, this is where you're looking at the guy to say, get us out of this hole. Get us out of this mess. Do something spectacular. And once he was negated and condensed, and that's what Sydney do, they condense the ground, right? They condense it because it is a weird dimension, as we've discussed. It was weird that no one came with him. There was one person who came with him, but he's a child. And that was a bit annoying. And that's where you want Sam to go up that level. And it was a good game. Don't get me wrong. It was an okay game for a midfielder. I feel like this is where he can go up a level. And at times it felt like touches for touches' sake.
I remember last year we were talking when we were doing the ratings around, George Hewett. He was the score involvements guy and the meters gain guy to an extent. That was one thing I noticed with Walsh's game. I mean, he had, just under 700 meters gain. He had 8 score involvements. He seemed to be what George Hewett was doing last year that we were hoping that it would be Sam Walsh to be doing. And you're right, there is this moment in time because Walsh can be accused, and he was accused last year of trying to do too much, trying to force it. I don't know what the right balance is. I actually think this was a tick on the night, the way I saw it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, the 8 score involvements is incredibly deceptive from this guy. Like, that the scoreboard output from Walsh, I would expect to see a little bit more. And that's the next evolution. When Walsh is in the second half, there was a few times that it annoyed, because the first half I thought we could see Brownlow Walsh, we could see Gary Ayres Walsh, and we were seeing them little give and goes he does, where he gets the ball out the back, handballs it to a Cripps or a Jagga, and then receives it back. He didn't look to attack there. He looked to stay on the defensive side and almost help his boys out, which I have no issue with. Like, that's fair enough. This is where I think the next level for Walsh is a little bit of arrogance, a little bit of, I'm the vice captain. I'm going to get us out of this hole, boys. I'm going to get us out of this hole. So I'm going to attack. I'm going to drive it on the front foot. That's high level, but that's where we need it. That's where we need it. And I wished I'd seen it. I would have loved Walsh in that third to look at his captain and go, I'm the captain now. You used to do this for us in 2017 and 18. I'm going to put this boy on my back and you're going to follow me into battle.
Yeah. All right. 6.2 for Sam Walsh.
Strong though.
Then we get to Jagga, who made his debut. Jeez. Yeah, he, like I said with Harry Dean, he the speed of the game, not an issue.
Look, the year out, the body, the fundamental change. The one thing that we talked about Jagga at length in the preseason, it was my Dyson Sharp that year. A guy that I liked his consistency levels. Just shows why that works. And you know what? I'm going to give Michael Voss some props here. I was incredibly scared when we drafted him that Michael Voss would see this inside midfielder and go, oh my God, it's me 2.0. And we'd ruin his career. To actually see him play a little bit loose and have that understanding that he's incredibly good in tight, let him, though, be the second possession. Because one thing that we did, and we talked about it in his draft year, he had lots of games where he had like 30 touches and like 10 meters gained. And most people would hate that. If you use it right, though, it's good. And in the first half, his ability to find Walsh is scary to watch. Yeah. Like, bearing in mind, they've only known each other a year and a bit. Bearing in mind, they've probably, done about less than 30 training sessions together? with the ball. Sixth sense, man. Sixth sense. And that was very exciting. One thing that I like about him, and the only player in Carlton who does it, is understanding how to open up his body when he takes contact. That buys you the opportunity for another player to come and tackle you. So you create a 2-on-1, which means one of your players is free. He does that so often. And in the third quarter, the only player on the ground, I think in blue, who understood that mantra. We're in a little bit of trouble here. I need to take as many guys as I can with me. There was a few times that he got gang tackled by James Jordan and then gives off the handball. More players do that. That's long may it continue, because that's how you negate your lack of foot speed. You've got to take midfielders out. So, yeah, I was impressed. Him and Harry Dean are probably the only two guys. It's a damnation, Terry, on 23 players, bro. That two children, and I call them children because they are, were the bravest in the third. That is kind of a condemnation. We shouldn't be looking at Jagga in his first AFL game and Harry Dean in his first year to have the balls to get it wrong.
Do you know what I loved about Jagga's stat line? It's exactly what I hoped we would see. 21 uncontested possessions. If anybody comes for Jagga this year and says, I doesn't get a hard ball, now we're pushing back on that. Finally, someone that can skirt a pack.
Look, a lot of Carlton fans who say some of the most ridiculous things about Nick Dacos are going to see there's a reason good players don't get in there. Like, you've got to think hard contested ball nowadays is irrelevant. Is irrelevant. Good players stay out of trouble. And he's very good. I think, obviously, high level for him, this was a great start. I think high level for him is keeping up that.
Yeah.
But also, I hope we avoid the temptation. I hope Carlton avoid the temptation to throw this guy on the ball, because that in 3-4 years' time, that people use the Nick Dacos comparison. I hate it because it's not a comparison. It's a stupid comparison, in my opinion. They're two different players. This guy has the potential to go on the ball, maybe in 2 or 3 years in spurts, because he's incredibly clean and he extracts it very quick. I just hope we leave him in this kind of a loose role. When Chesser comes back, leave him in this loose role. Let him be the conductor, because already out of our midfield, if you did a football degree, he's a master. The rest are probably at TAFE doing a bridging course to get in there. Do you know what I mean? Like, so at this stage, he's got to be that guy. He is so much smarter than the rest. And this is why I said to you when we did the training report, a lot of people came at me for it, but this guy is 10 times the player Sam Walsh was at the same age. Like, it's not even close. Do you know what I mean? It's not even close. So let him do what Jagga does. Let Jagga do that. I don't want to see him in the guts winning contested ball till 2028.
Yeah. He got a 5.3 for his game. And then we move on to his mate, Cooper Lord. I'm really curious about this because he also had a high uncontested possession count. He had 21 uncontested possessions. Correct me if I'm wrong. This was a wing role.
Yeah, so he played fair play to Carlton, trying something different. Probably the wrong... Now, this is fascinating to me, Terry, because one thing that I love about Cooper is the modern-day inside midfielder, right? He's nimble. We've moved on from the era of big, heavy, I can lift 2 carpets at the same time. I can't do maths anymore. All these inside players are a little bit nimble and they have something about them. He's showcasing here, Cooper Lord, how strong he is and versatile he is. Because can you imagine, and this is not a knock on Cripps, but can you imagine Cripps playing this role? Like, as good as Cripps is, can you imagine him play this role? Just showing you this is how inside midfielders have developed now. So this was one that got me thinking. What we really enjoyed in the preseason was the fact that there was no Cripps and Hewett on the ball. It was always one of them. One of them because they were at WA playing in that Mickey Mouse game, and then the other one, they separated them. This is definitely an area that straight away, I feel like we missed an opportunity because I'm worried about Cooper Lord. He reminds me of Matt Kennedy at the minute. And it's almost like he's been typecast because he isn't arrogant. He's not going to say, I ain't playing anywhere on the ball. I'll just play. And you know what? I'll do well. I feel like Carlton, if they really want to unlock their midfield, this guy has got to be in the guts. Let him do it. He served his apprenticeship. For this game, though, Terry, incredible. But there's another layer of Cooper that I feel like we're really holding him back. And it does feel like a little bit like Matt Kennedy because he's worried, because he's willing to play any role and he'll do it to the best of his capabilities. It's almost like he's overlooked where...
No, I get that. Because you can't put Hewett out there. You're not going to be putting Cripps
like
out
if
there.
Hewett played this role, we'd be saying Michael Voss needs shooting. But I will say this, sometimes when the answer is obvious, you've got it, no matter how much you don't want it to be the answer, it's there. And I feel like right now, Cooper Lord is telling me, Jagga Smith is telling me, Sam Walsh is telling me, I need one less slow foot soldier. And let's be a bit more, let's have some dynamism in that midfield. Yeah. And I think Cooper is the guy.
The way he moved, the confidence in which he moved, his composure in traffic, I was very impressed with him. He looked really good up close at the game as well. And when I watched it again on replay, he looked just as good. But yeah, he stood out immediately. You could really tell he had worked on his game. And I don't know when that time comes. Is this, in your view, do you think it's take one less slower midfielder out, or do you take a Reidy out and play one ruck and a hybrid?
Well, it's funny. We said in pre-season with the new 5-man bench, the AFL won the Lockie Neal grand final role, 20 minutes spurt player, right? And then it was funny that a lot of teams were using it in pre-season to rucks. And I said it numerous times. It's just pre-season. I think they're exploiting the rules to see which ruckman's the best. Are the rules really as bad as people thought they were for rucks? It's funny that when you look at Carlton's makeup, it's so flat-footed. It's so miserable at times. You would have thought the fifth guy would be a dynamic player. Like genuinely looking at if you showed me the team, and let's just say Michael Voss, he'll never do it, but if Michael Voss rang me up and goes, Pom, got a game this Thursday. This is my 20. This is my best 18. The fifth guy, what do you think? And I would have said, I think Pittonet's a worry. Maybe 2 rucks, Voss. What's the plan on the makeup? If Voss said, you know what, mate, I'm going to play the second ruck only 60% of the time, I'd be like, fuck it. Let Pittonet do it all the time and give a full-time midfielder there. Have that rotation. It's fascinating we went 2 rucks and he only played 60%, where it's a funny one, Terry. But to answer your question, I do think Carlton need to look at that. And when I think the most simplistic way you look at this game is say Carlton didn't get their hands to it first. Why? I'll tell you why. When the third quarter, Carlton went with what they knew. Hewett, Cripps at the furnace. They went slower. The big problem is to win the ball back, you've got to do something. And genuinely, when you see the good teams negate stoppage and clearance, they're going quick. They're going with lighter weight players. The impact now on big-bodied mids is getting less and less, and teams are playing one and rolling through there. Look at Dunkley this week, right? Dunkley, I saw people complaining about him and tagging Kane Corns, going, talk about Dunkley, he's only had 10 touches. What, you keep talking about Cripps. But in reality, the reason that Dunkley wasn't as dominant as he usually is because Bontempelli isn't on the ball as like he usually is anymore. He's been moved around and been a menace elsewhere. So you've got to look at that, Terry, in my opinion. You've got to look at that. Like, I know people like Hewett and Cripps as a combo. I know people will say Cooper Lord, he's young. No one else seems to worry about it because at the minute, Carlton are desperate for that role. So age shouldn't come into it. We're in this list mess. Give Cooper a little bit more opportunity inside.
I like it. 4.4 for Mr. Lord. And then we get to Hewett. And then you see this heat map and you see this is different to what we have seen from him.
He's doing the same. Look, I mean, this was an interesting one. Hewett's another guy that's typecast. And I watched the third really intently. And do you remember last year I was taking the piss going, and it wasn't being mean to Hewett. It was more being mean to Michael Voss because you know that I love a Vossy pot shot. And we're not doing that in 2026. But he was our number one first possession winner. And I was like, you look at the guys who were the first possession winners in other teams. The Finn Callaghan's, Nick Dacos, really exciting players. It felt this week that Michael Voss had started to believe that maybe George Hewett is him.
How so?
Is him. Because you look at that, the most logical thing for Hewett is to be the extractor. He was at some points moved around almost to kind of be like the point of difference, particularly in that fourth. They played him loose and Walsh was in the ball. And I was watching the fourth and I'm like, what is going on here? Like, you want Sam Walsh to give the ball to Hewett and Hewett dictate the play? Are we being serious now? Like, I want George feeding Walsh out in space. I don't want it the other way around. It was an interesting one. And what makes me really intrigued to watch Carlton is every week we play Sydney, Chad Warner bursts through. And I've got to admit, that third quarter when Chad Warner had finally burst through and got loose ball, and he was running straight at Hewett, I was like, I have seen this script 3 years of Chad Warner. And it's no knock on George Hewett. It's impossible to stop that. George Hewett hasn't got the tools. He's a good, honest footballer. So this was a tough one, Terry. And I felt like our inside mids got overrun. And he wasn't himself.
2.9. That might be one of the lowest scores I've seen next to George Hewett on this show.
On the selection show, people cried that I didn't have him starting. And this game was pretty much why, even though I'm George Hewett's biggest fan, the biggest advocate of George, this is kind of why. This is not the type of game that I would play George Hewett in a defined role of trying to stop players. Like, interesting that we went that way.
Then there's Cripps, the skipper.
You know what? He's copped a lot of abuse, right, this week, and I think incredibly unjustified from the media. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Patrick Cripps had an absolute barnstormer game and he's going to pull 3 Brownlow votes. Far from it. But this is, again, that kind of like system where would you have played 2 cumbersome big guys in a game that you knew what Sydney were going to do? And that's interesting. It's funny that when it started going wrong, that Carlton's first move was Patrick Cripps at full forward and then Brodie Kemp at full back. Like Kemp is now a forward again because we know back it doesn't work, and Patrick Cripps hasn't taken a mark in the forward line for a wee while. Bizarre, Terry. Like bizarre this one, but all in all, what did Cripper do? Cripper did what I expect Cripper to do. He competed. He tried to break even. Very interesting, though, that Cripps got frustrated in that third quarter. And this is why you get people say the most ridiculous stuff, right? And you're glad they're not in professional sport, like going, oh, we've got to go out there and I hope Cripps plants one on Kerner. Oh, I hope Weitering fucking breaks his arms. This is why in professional life and in sport, idiots shouldn't speak. I'm a big believer of it. And what I mean by that is once you start playing with things you're not good at, emotion being one of them for Carlton, Cripps has never been that physical player. in the terms of aggression. What's magical about Cripps is he's hard and fair. He's not hard and evil. It was weird because I felt like the weird energy in the third of all these fights and getting stuck into people from players that I don't associate with it was a bad move. And you saw that when you play with emotion, like a child on sugar, it gets the best of you. And I felt the third, Cripps, it got the best of him, Terry. I'm not picking on him. He gave away petulant free kicks. But this is why it's dangerous. Because I felt like Cripps now had gone into a place that he couldn't bring himself out of. And once you go over the line and you're not that player, and I hate to say it, if you want physicality and punch-ons, don't watch Carlton. We are the Wiggles of the AFL. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean they're soft and weak. That's how they are. That's who they are as human beings. We haven't... Harry Dean, yes, Harry Dean looks like he knocked someone out for not saying good morning to him. Patrick Cripps is a different type of specimen, so tough for him. For him.
I don't know if this is an unpopular or controversial statement. I know that he lost his cool. I don't mind it. And like obviously you want to win the game, and him losing his cool is not part of that. I think it was completely overblown. For years, people have wanted Patrick Cripps to be more demonstrative, 100%. Show a bit more on the field, take the game by the scruff, put a bump on a player, and then he does it, and it's like, drop him, he's undisciplined. Like, for me, it showed me that he took it personally, and I was reassured.
And sometimes, Terry, if you ask people to do what they're not going to do, it makes them harder to control their emotions. I think the best thing about Cripps is he holds that in, keeps his calmness, doesn't he? Cripps genuinely keeps his calmness, and that's his strength. If you're allowing him, you see it. You know the best way to prove this? Watch fan cams. If you get someone on there and they suddenly come on with Terry and they've watched Football Factory one too many times, right? Guys in London who are on fentanyl, right? They suddenly start thinking, oh, let's just shout at Terry and go, yeah, fucking flares, smash them all. The next three people can't help themselves but give into that because they think it's popular. And it's always funny, innit? You'll always get the one guy who will come across a big, hard man, but after he's finished on the fan cams, his mum comes in with a cup of tea and goes, take your Horlicks, bedtime now, gives him a kiss on the forehead. You know they're a fraud. That's what happens. It's infectious. Cripps, I like the fact that he plays physically. I am pissed off, though, that everyone has turned on Cripps, right? Because Cripps isn't to blame for this game. I have no issue with Cripps losing it. He should be better, yes. He's the leader. He's the spiritual heartbeat of the football team. But also, Terry's spot on. For the last 10 years, all I've heard is Cripps is 200 centimetres tall, weighs 100 kgs on the muscle. Why does he not punch anyone? Why does he not get angry? Why does he not care? When he does, we're now slagging him off. And that's what I've been saying for years. Cripps is Cripps. Let Cripps be Cripps. The reason this game didn't go well is it wasn't Cripps' role. It wasn't Cripps' role. And genuinely, that's another thing I'd like to ask Voss. If you're losing, you can't get your hands on it first, which player on our team would you be looking at? To get
it's literally
and cunts in gold square, Terry. You know what I mean? Like genuinely. Genuinely. Again, he's in the goal square. Like genuinely, for your life, pick a player who can definitely help and get the ball. I'd be like Patrick Cripps. Oh, don't worry, we've got him in the goal square. So, Josh, look, mate, I've missed you. I've had a year, so I'm new year, new me. Just play back the last 5 minutes. He isn't that guy. That's not who he is. That's not who he is. So if you want Patrick Cripps to go out and king hit people, that's not who Patrick Cripps is. That's not who he is. Ask any player who plays with him. Toughest competitor, fairest competitor. So he's not the type of guy that's going to go and shirt front people. He let the emotion get the better of him. And that was the vibe of this game. And ultimately, Sydney, I bet Dean Cox wanted Carlton to act like this. Because eventually, these guys can't hold their maturity. They don't have the emotional IQ to play that type of game. It's a special kind of idiot that can play with anger. We haven't got that special kind of idiot. So, lesson learned for Cripps.
A 3.6 for Cripps. I was fascinated.
That is Cripps' lowest rated game since 2016.
Wow. I was fascinated how quickly certain individuals were ready, willing, and able to just write him off. Games gone past him. Kane Corns went through the Lee Matthews playbook and went for it. And it's going to be a really interesting 3 or so years because he's obviously not going to be as quick as, I mean, he's never been a quick player, but I'm going to be interested to see how they talk about him and manage the narrative around him on the outside in the later parts of his career. I think he'll be fine. I think it was the first game of a marathon. I think this guy knows exactly how to manage himself and his body and his fitness throughout the entire season. And I was fascinated, both mainstream media and fan base, and how many people were willing to write off this guy. This guy is a champion. He will be fine.
No, I agree. Slobo, to answer your question, look, you've got to talk in exaggerations. It's the best way to get people to understand simple things with a complex ramification. But go and listen to the narrative pre-game, buddy, right? Just go and listen to it. People saying, I want Cripps, I want Kerno on the ground, not breathing. Like, trying to make some, like, at the end of the day, a player has left us, and it sounded like we were about to declare war against Nazi Germany, right? And then it happens. The problem is these players aren't like that. Like, I've got 2 beautiful boys in there. One of them would happily meet you out in a car park at 3 a.m. and knock the living shit out of you. The other one likes butterflies, likes the finer things in life. His conflict management is talking it out like an adult. Where my eldest, he thinks the best way to talk something out is call an ambulance to take your corpse home. Like, so they're 2 different people. So if one of them was going into war, I would be using David, my eldest. He's the physical one. Yeah, I'd be filling him full of hate, filling him full of anger. Zane is a little bit more nuanced. So I'd have to explain to him the methodology of holding his emotions in, keeping in control, because that's where he's safe. If someone said to Zane, go out tonight and we're going to play soccer or AFL and you're going to have to take someone out, he wouldn't be able to control that emotion because he doesn't live in it. So that testosterone he'd feel, he would be hard to control. And that's what happens with my Zane. When David punches him, Zane goes into Super Saiyan mode and the emotion, he can't control it. Yeah. And I have to calm him down and it's a nightmare, whereas David just punches shit and I can calm that down because that's where he lives. So when you ask someone to live in an emotion they don't have, it's stupid in sport, it's stupid in business, stupid in life. Some people aren't designed to be emotional, right, in the right way, and that's fine. But we're not. Like Cripps, I want Cripps stonewall focused. He's a doer in life. Cripps is, I will fucking do this. I will beat you by being better. It's not his caper, man.
Yeah. All right. 3.6. Let's move along. Oliver Hollands played on the wing, back into the role that we were all talking about wanting him to be.
I am Ollie Hollands' best advocate. My issue with Ollie Hollands, and I'm going to say this, and don't clip it and take it the wrong way. What is detrimental about Carlton is kind of Ollie Hollands. Incredible effort, works incredibly hard for a return that's quite modest. And I'm trying to say this nicely. I don't mean to be harsh, but that's the entire team. right? That's the entire team. Works incredibly hard. And I look at the stat sheet and they've had 8 shots on goal and they're leading by 10. Do you know what I mean? But by the eye, I'm thinking should be 40-point lead. This is kind of Ollie Hollands. To watch it, to watch the energy, to watch the effort, to watch the work. I'm thinking, okay, when I check the stat sheet, it's 38 touches, 44 score involvements, 8 marks. And then I look at it, I'm like, well, fucking hell, it's quite mediocre return. And that's not a knock on him. I think that's who he is as a footballer, right? He's just going to be a very good, honest foot soldier. But I feel like he is everything about Carlton at the minute. Works incredibly hard. The output needs to be better. To his game, this is kind of his role. We want these workhorses in the team. Work, up, down the ground. For it to work precisely, though, the guy on the other side has to be Carl Amon 2018. Has to be Ed Langdon 2019, 2020. So it's a hard one with Ollie. He is who he is.
Yeah. 4.6 for Ollie. Then we get another debutant for the club, and that was Campbell Chesser. What did you make of his first game?
Oh, this was an interesting one. Look, I like it. My only reservation is just see what I said about Ollie. Very similar types of players. Very similar types of players, effort-based. Interesting that they switched roles. Ollie was kind of the more offensive player. Campbell Chesser was Blake Acres 2.0.
I was about to say, is this essentially Blake Acres' role?
Yeah, so it looks like they've switched roles. So, like, Ollie was always the more defensive winger. Acres had the more ambitious. Looks like that they've switched it round. What I did like about Campbell is he was there. I feel like I watched him, and he hasn't had a proper preseason for ever. And he hasn't had a run of games ever. Right? So he hasn't had a run. And it felt like he was out of form. It felt like he was maybe a little bit behind. I remember him in his draft year. Very ambitious, very bold. So I'm willing to see where it leads in the next couple of games. See if that he gets a little bit of cobwebs.
Yeah, when he gets, I don't. I mean, it's natural. It's a fresh club. I don't sense that he's comfortable yet within himself, within the team, within the club. I thought, given that was the case, this wasn't the worst debut. Like, there's something there to work with. I'd like to see him. I know whether Blake Acres is fit or not in the next few weeks, or if he's up for selection. I wouldn't mind seeing them persist with Chesser for a bit more.
No, I'm willing to see where it goes. I did like what he was trying to do, what he was trying to do in the terms of playing the game. Like, he was attacking it well. I enjoyed what I saw. So I'm intrigued to see where this may lead, Terry. Where this may lead.
So 3.7 for Campbell Chesser. Then we get to Elijah.
So you are looking at the person who, if he went at AFL average for 8 of 100 stats, would have been ranked the best player in the Carlton team.
Sorry, say that again. If you had of what, sorry?
If 8 out of 100 stats, if he'd ranked AFL average in them stats, which isn't a big ask, he would have been the best player on Carlton's team ranked-wise. Just shows you how stiff these ratings are. This is another player that kind of see Campbell Chesser. It felt like it took him a while to get up to the speed of the game. And one of the more frustrating games I've seen, because 1 minute he's got an easy inside 50 that he kills a worm with. Then he's out of position, runs himself into trouble, and kicks an absolute worldie on the run. Very hard to fathom. It was definitely a pace of the game issue. Very rushed. You know, the best way to describe it is it looks like his brain has made the decision before his foot's caught up.
Yeah, he was so quick in his head. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Always an element of Elijah, though. He likes a snatch kick. So, look, I'm willing to give him a couple more weeks. He was in all the right areas. His link-up play was good. His end product was in, to be nice, barbaric. Yeah. I mean, it was war criminal-esque at times, Terry, some of that ball use.
Yeah. So a 2.8 for Lige. Then we get to Lockie Fogarty. I fear that he will become the next whipping boy or the whipping boy of 2026.
Probably. I mean, this is another bugbear of mine. Like, Carlton are still stuck in like 1988, like tackle pressure, like forward tackle pressure, where just about every other club, it's goals with a little bit of tackle pressure. He didn't have the tackle pressure this year. The one thing that I do always like about Lockie is he's one of the old school players that kind of gets his hands in it and gives it out to other people. This is a weird one, Terry. I feel like at the minute the game has moved past these types of players. I don't think he can be pigeonholed. And I think if you have one skill in the forward line is kicking goals, don't care about tackles. At Carlton, we are obsessed with tackles because the way we play the game, people think it's important, but it genuinely isn't. Like let's just say, like this week, who would you like? Let's just say Harry Mackay had 10 forward 50 marks, and Charlie Curnow kicked 3 goals, 1 or whatever he did. You'd rather have the 3 goals, 1. It's the same with small forwards. You'd rather have the goals, and I feel like this is a safe selection, Terry. That I understand it, but it's safe, isn't it? It's safe. You know what you're going to get.
Is this? I mean, I don't know. Wait, you obviously don't believe he's going to be part of the best version of this team, and if so, who is the player that takes this spot? Is it a Byrne? Is it an Ison? Is it a Cottrell? Like, what's the next iteration of this role?
I think if you don't, I think if you don't have goals, that's a problem in the forward line. And I think if you are you're having 10 tackles with the small forwards that we've got. I think when you're kind of having this type of game, which he is capable of, Lockie, I think Lockie is that just happy 6.5 type of player. And I know people are going to say like, oh, but Pom, we didn't tackle very well. But that comes from the midfield as well. Do you know what I mean? Like the ball wasn't even in the halfback in their halfback line for very long. I actually think Jainuke Sarong has done amazing in his Supercoach score because I don't think the ball ever went in there. But this is where you're looking at the midfield was really bad. But like Fogarty, there it is, the half tackles. He's meant to be in there to do that, and he wasn't within cooey of their halfbacks at times. So look, Taylor Byrne, is he ready? I mean, everyone keeps telling me Taylor Byrne didn't run out a full game. Newsflash. You had a ruckman on the bench that played 60% of the game. Like, that's what you use the 5th rotation for, someone that hasn't played. That's maybe not match fit, but there's a point of difference.
Yeah.
Interesting one. I like Fogg, good on his footballer. But
do you reckon they keep him in for Thursday?
Oh,
against Richmond?
I would be flabbergasted if Fogarty doesn't play 18 games this year.
2.2 for Lockie Fogarty. Then we get to Ashton Moir. Very curious to see how you saw this. I felt once he made that one turnover kick when he went inboard, I think he lost himself a bit after that.
I don't want to be harsh on Ashton because I love the kid. But when I went to training with you, Terry, I was big on Ashton. That felt a little bit get by when I was watching him at training and watching him play. That first half was sensational. Worked really hard, headed the ball, some good tackles. Looked a bit hungry. Looked a little bit fearless. But then he kind of just disapparated very quickly. It might have been maybe he's hard on himself, Terry. Maybe you're right. Maybe he was upset with himself, but it felt like he wasn't even trying to find space. You know what I mean, Terry? When I was watching that game, he kind of really didn't offer us an outlet towards the end of the game, did he?
Hmm. Yeah, I thought he was just so well positioned to get himself into the game in that second half, and then I thought he had dropped his head a bit and dropped confidence. But I'm surprised by that because he seems to be a player that has the type of personality to stay on top of his head because he's got such natural confidence, or it seems that way.
You know, I always say this, that you need a game breaker on every line.
Yeah.
And I think the good teams have that game breaker. That guy that doesn't matter if we're winning or losing. He just needs 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Look, what I've noticed from Ashton in his short career, in the juniors, he was that guy. He's playing with a lot of bravado and confidence, but in reality, there isn't any confidence. And that kind of like concerns me. I don't like it. He kind of reminds me of like, you know, you go on a golf weekend and your mate has spent $5,000 on Titleist because he can afford it. But he's an absolute shit golfer. You know, he's got a Porsche, but his Willie's only an inch tall. Like, it's that kind of attitude. Like, I've got all the gear, but I'm not really providing it. He really needs to go back to basics, Ashton. And the first quarter I really liked. I thought he was doing that really well. And that's spot on, Petra, the fundamentals. And the best teams in the league have a ruthless pursuit of the basics.
Yeah.
Just, it feels like he's trying to do the spectacular without doing the hard work before it.
I hope he stays in for Thursday. I want to see him go again. I want to see him have a shot at it.
I think Lana nails it. I think the best players do look a bit laconic, and I think that's how he comes off. I think it's the way he plays the game. But he's just got to like, you know, just find it, man. Like, it's a nearly game. I do think the best position is that high half forward, Webby. I do think that's where he does his best work, coming from that third position. Just felt a little bit within himself.
2.3 is his rating. Then we get to another fresh player at the club, Will Hayward. Mate, I tell you what, some of the bumps that he put on, I don't know what you're going to make of his game, but the way he attacked the opposition, I was very happy with.
The rejuvenation energy from the new players is really, 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 really profound. You can't knock it. The energy they bring, the attitude they bring, it's kind of infectious, and hopefully it is infectious. I like that, Terry. Look, I like my sneaky buggers. I like my guys that are going to bump you when no one's looking. Look, he brings a point of difference. Now, Hayward is a real fascinating character because he is the type of guy that only needs 10 minutes. And he's not probably a 4-quarter player. He never has been, but what he gives you is good. One of the few that can hold his head up high forward pressure-wise, because he never stopped chasing. So, look, I like Hayward. He's going to be a very good player for us. A very, very good player for us. He's definitely someone, though, that he would have relished the ball coming in a little bit more. And detrimental that our half forwards nearly had more tackles than any other line. Yeah.
I like what he could do and the way he plays the game. I like what that could do to someone like Ashton. I think if they're working together a lot, I think he can teach him a lot about when to go, when to not.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, people are slagging off our tackle effort, rightly so, but like, outside of George Hewett, who always tackles hard, I mean, when Ashton Moir, Zack Williams and Hayward are your next best tackle getters, I mean, the answer is there, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, the answer is there. Like, small forwards, all 0 tackles, all the guys that played in the forward pocket. And Michael Voss himself says pressure starts at turnover. So you're looking at the deepest line. It's a concern, isn't it? And you don't really want Ashton Moir and Hayward chasing. So, like, with Gav was saying he disagrees on he wants key forwards to tackle. This is what I mean. You don't want the guys that are meant to be kicking big scores, Hayward, game changer, being your main tackle outlets. Like, I don't mind Fogarty being in the team if he has 8 tackles and Will Hayward has 0, because if Will Hayward's allowed to skirt and do whatever he wants, he potentially can kick 5 goals too. Change the game for us. Do you know what I mean? I don't want Hayward, though, being the main defensive outlet for the Blues when tackling is a basic.
Yeah.
Game changing is hard.
All right. 4.5 for Will Hayward. Then we get to Benny Ainsworth. I liked him. I liked the way he attacks the ball.
BA is very on.
Yeah.
He is very on. You know what? Just natural small forward craft. Natural small forward craft. He keeps himself loose. There was many a time where it was quite funny when the pressure started to go in the second quarter, when it started to up. There was a few times that this guy was completely left alone, and Carlton didn't quite look for him. And that's the next nuance, is using the tools you've got to really make something happen. Oh, it felt better than a 2-goal game at times. He took his chances. You know what? Josh, as always, absolutely lambasting someone for trying to change the game on his own terms, but then lambasting someone who doesn't have a shot. I actually don't mind he burnt Harry. I genuinely like the fact that there is a little bit of selfishness. There is a little bit of a, you know what, I'll take it on. Because at times, that's my bugbear with Fogarty. Fogarty will give it off and then turn the ball over because he's put someone under pressure when it's probably safer to have the shot. So it is quite nice having a small forward there who is all about the goals. And
I liked it. I thought of you when he took his goal, the one at half forward where he turned around, turned his pace, went for it. I'm trying to think who's the last player we've had that has done that. So for his first game.
Genuinely, before this year, outside of the key position players, I look and I don't think there's enough people that want to kick goals.
Yeah.
He does feel like he is all about the goals. And that kind of makes me a little bit excited. So it's going to be fascinating to see how he goes. But a true small forward. And it's... I've been called... You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
A good Matt Wright.
Oh, yeah. A stronger Matt Wright.
Yeah, because you remember Matt Wright, just the only thing he knew was have a shy at the sticks.
Have a shot at goal, yeah.
I liked it. I mean, look, around 100,000 people Thursday. I reckon he's going to get them up and about. He feels like he's the energy.
Yeah, I look forward to him at the MCG. All right, 6.1 for Ben Ainsworth. Then we get to Brodie Kemp. Gee, started this game. It was ominous. I don't know how you saw the rest of his game, but I mean, got to remember, this is his first AFL game back since doing the Achilles. What'd you make?
See, Campbell Chesser, it is frustrating because he's in all the right areas. The execution and the speed of the game is not quite with the brain.
Yeah.
With the brain. And we said it, like first quarter, I'll keep saying 8 shots to 8. You can make stuff up and say that we were fantastic. But the truth is we were equal to them with less efficiency. And a lot of it comes down to these guys, to be honest. And it's harsh. Brodie's been out for a year, just come back. You hear his recovery. It was lucky to be as good as it was. Could have been worse. But it's just, this is what he needs. Like, this is what we need. We need this to go well all the time. Same as Ashton Moir. With only having Harry, who we're going to come on to in a minute, it needs to go well. He needs to fire. So, look, he left a few out there. Watching this game back, particularly the fourth time I watched him, he is leading into some magical places. He is, but like when he was on Tom McCartin in the third quarter, literally burns Tom McCartin about 4 times with his pace. 3 times we don't hit him. The final time it was like a worm burner, and he nearly took the mark. He's in the right positions. He needs to find his kicking boots there. And then the third quarter at the start, putting him, Terry, at fullback.
I don't know if you watched the fan cams when someone brought it up, but
Fuck yeah! I mean, Harry. I miss the Charlie Kerno at fullback days. It's not.
Was it just me, or did he look more did he look like our most dangerous forward in the forward line?
I stand by it. I know people have this like magical thing that they love seeing Harry Mackay up the wing, and then you get people saying, "Oh, Lloydie did it," and I'm like, "Fucking Matt Lloyd versus Harry Mackay, Jesus!" Like it's like comparing the pace of a horse to a Ferrari Formula One car. But this is why I don't mind Kemp working up the ground, right? Working up the ground. I'd rather him be that outlet ball at times because I like his pace. I like the way he works quickly. I like where he was leading. I really enjoyed his game. It was just he didn't have the end product, but the signs are there. The signs are there. I'm willing to not be too harsh. And Achilles is a horrible injury. And he was in the right areas. It feels like it needs, ideally, we need West Coast at the Marvel. And he has a game where he kicks 9
and gets some
and
confidence.
Just gets the confidence.
I mean, remember, him as a forward started last year, and it lasted, what was it, 4 games or 5 games? We played the Dogs. I think he kicked the 5. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, the week after is when he did the Achilles against West Coast.
Yeah, if you remember when we were like at round 18, he was still in our top 5 goal kickers.
yeah.
Quality.
So 3.3 for Brodie. Then we get to Harry. Okay, I'm a bit surprised to see the heat map in the forward line as much. What an interesting player to watch. I made the comment on the fan cams, and I think I said it in my review as well. And maybe I'm just seeing it wrong or I'm missing something here. But the way he launches at the football when he's on the wing and the way he launches at the football when he's inside 50, it's like 2 different players.
It's fascinating. We had this discussion at training, didn't we, Terry? There's something that's not right. It feels off, doesn't it? Feels like it's not fully in sync at the minute.
Like,
and
am I wanting him to be something that he's not, and I'm trying to manifest something that's not there? But then I see signs of the mentality when he's up the ground launching at the ball. So it's not like, so maybe there's a difference between being a link player and then being the guy that says, "I want the shot, get me the ball."
Yeah, you know what? I mean, look, I stand by this. People thought I was taking the piss, and I genuinely wasn't taking the piss. But I genuinely do wonder if there is something going on with his eyes as well, because there was like 3 of the marks he took well outside of 50 on the wing, and 2 of them were uncontested, and he took 3 grabs at one of them. Like he nearly dropped it, right? But it's funny, like equality. I feel like we're making massive excuses for Harry. Harry is a Coleman medalist. He needs to work through it. And the truth be told, the Harry Mackay that won the Coleman, Terry, you're spot on. He was playing on 3 players. People forget Charlie wasn't there. Right?
Yeah, he led the league in contested marks that year.
So he was on 100 players and he was doing it. I agree with you. It feels like he's attack, but for me, it's something. I mean, if it's confidence, okay, but it's the uncontested marks, Terry. He's taking 4, 5, 6, 7 grabs at it, which is very un-Harry-like. Harry's always been that 1-2 grab, doesn't he? That's how he takes the contested marks, jumps on top of someone, bobs it forward, and then grabs it, and that's his skill set. He looks, it's ominous, isn't it? Like, I hope it's something as simple as he kicks 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'm just confused. Slobbo, no, I don't think he's soft, and I don't think you would say that to his face because you're hiding behind a keyboard. I take the point. It might be because he's just defended differently in the forward line, but he has it in him because he did it last year when he came back into the team. He had that aggression in him against Gold Coast at Marvel. He had it in him, the way he launched and attacked, and maybe it's just one game. Maybe the occasion was what it was. We'll see how it goes this Thursday against Richmond.
Look, I stand by it, Terry. When I was with you at training, like, to see Ethan Reid towel him up, like, and that's not even an exaggeration. Ethan Reid looked like prime Goddard, right? And it wasn't anything Harry was doing. It was what Harry was not doing. And you saw it this game. Doesn't feel willing to get out in front. There was a couple of times where Tom McCartney's got front position and where the old Harry would risk taking like 2022, he conceded a few frees doing it. He'd just run into the back of them because he had that willingness to get the ball. And I don't know if it's the confidence, Terry. Is it like, is that a thing?
So do you think, and I'm sure that they'll experiment with this in at least a game or more, do you think he's better suited when he has the opportunity to play a bit in the ruck, get amongst it a bit?
You know what, Moontide? It's interesting because I keep saying about the eyes. Genuinely, it's almost like he doesn't read an uncontested mark. So I do wonder if he's got some depth perception issue. But Terry, I don't like players working up the ground. I really don't. And like, people will be simplistic and go, Sam Darcy does it. Okay, cool. But Sam Darcy kicks goals for banter, right? When a player like Harry is out of form, I kind of want him on the goal square and having cheap goals, like trying to get that. I don't want him fucking about up top and then having to run back. And looking at Carlton playing the small role, you kind of want Harry in the goal square because Kemp and Moir aren't serial aerial specialists on 4 people. You want to take a defender as far back that creates that nice space for the smalls to run in. I just felt that's the best football for Harry. Play him in the goal square, try and keep him one out, and let the others do their work because it's an extra job for him. So it's going to be fascinating for Harry because we know how good he is. I'm just trying to put my finger on it, Terry. Look, I don't ever believe someone just loses their ability.
Yeah.
Right? So hopefully it's confidence, Terry. I hope.
So we get a 2 for the game, and then we get to Marc Pittonet. Yes. He got a 26 AFL rating for this game.
Look at the heat map, Terry.
Mate, he played 67% game time. Wow.
Yeah, and look, so shout out Marc Pittonet. I won quite a lot of money on you because you were the goal. You were my mystical goal. I had a feeling. Look, this is where I'm big on these ruck rules. I know that, yes, on paper, they suit a mobile ruckman 100%. But there's many ways to skin a cat. And I thought this was an intriguing battle. Grundy versus Pittonet. I think ruck-wise, definitely Grundy won it. But I think all in all, his awkwardness up forward was really, really nice to see. I really enjoyed that. And you know what? I apologised to Marc Pittonet. I said it'd be nice if the guy could ping a mark. He pinged marks. And like I said, if he starts pinging marks, look out. I really enjoyed him taking marks. Look, different type of ruckman to Grundy. It's always going to be a nightmare there. But look, looks fit, works really hard. And I mean, look, why did he kick them goals? Simple. Be big, keep front position, hold your position.
Yeah, no, just the way he competes.
And then the Lionel Messi goal he kicked as well. It's quite tough, that, for a big man. That was quite agile, mate. I tell you that. that bouncing ball. And tell you, Cristiano Ronaldo would have been proud of that half volley goal.
Yeah. Well, this is a guy that he looked fitter than he ever has in the preseason, and it showed on Thursday night. Maybe the fact that Reidy was in, which allowed Pitter to play the 67% game time, kept him fresh. But I mean, there was still this commentary around, he doesn't do enough around the ground, doesn't take enough marks like Grundy. It's like, well, Grundy took 2, Pitter took 3 on the night. How many marks does a ruck need to take before we just get off his case? Is it 2 a game, 3 a game? Is it 6 a game? What are the best rucks in the competition? Like, what is this lens that people look at him through?
Well, you see, I'm always harsh on him just for his marking because it's the marks he doesn't take.
Okay.
Like, if you know what I mean, like, that's what I meant last week when I said that if you could pin a mark, he'd be fucking deadly. And I wasn't being harsh. It was more that how often do you see the poor lad have a mark inside 50 like he did this week, which he took, but he's out in front position and spoils it. But to answer your question, Terry, 2 is about the AFL standard. 2 is about the AFL standard.
Okay.
So, but my bugbear is this week, you saw them marks. He had an issue where usually he drops them, where he took them this week. And that's what he's going to do. So whether that's confidence in his body, and because one thing I noticed when he did spill marks, he was very good on the ground this week as well. That's an understated part of Pittonet's game this week, Terry. Yeah. I thought he was incredible with the ball at the deck as well. I thought his second and third efforts were brilliant.
Well, this is a surprise, but bang, 8.3.
Obviously, incredibly juiced by the goals. But that's going to create a negative. So, Josh, just because my personal favourite thing is just proving you wrong, Terry asked averages for ruckman. So Sam, Tim English and Max Gawn are the outliers of the AFL, being over 5 each, 5.7 and 6.1 in Tim English's favour. But outside of that, you're looking at there's only 6 ruckmen in the league that average over 3. And then the rest are all in that 2 category. So Australians might teach average different to what English people do. But nope, the AFL average for a ruckman is 2, mate.
There you go. All right. Then we get to Liam Reidy. First time playing for the Carlton Football Club. What'd you think? He played, 60% game time.
Look, for some reason, and like, is big, right? Is big with Liam Reidy is that you saw Pittonet, he played 67 and he's the fittest. Now, the question we will never know the answer to, can Marc Pittonet play 85, 90? I don't know. I mean, we don't know. So, he didn't look haggard, though, did he, Pittonet?
No, he didn't.
My issue here, fifth bench, Carlton a bit flat-footed. You've got different midfield needs. Would you do it again? Look, I would be very concerned if you look me in the eye and you tell me that Pittonet can't ruck for 90% of the game.
Well, Grundy, by contrast, played 79% time on ground.
Yeah, Terry, it worries me. If you're telling me he can't ruck to an extent that we can put an absolute Mickey Mouse ruckman in, because like Joel Marty was their second ruck, wasn't he? So Joel Marty was their second ruck from memory on centre bounce attendance.
It was pretty much, Grundy had 46 hit outs and Joel Marty had 2. So,
surely Pittonet can do that, because I just find Liam Reidy and Pittonet almost the same ruckman. Liam Reidy obviously more mobile, 100%. I don't.
And then there's this. Do you think that at the selection table they're thinking, let's just get 2 big rucks to try and negate Grundy? Because from memory last year, I don't know if I don't think De Koning played in Sydney last year. I think he might have had the larynx issue at that point. Could be wrong on that.
Look, Grundy was going to batter the Rucks no matter what.
Yeah.
Like I was surprised when I looked at the stats he didn't hit the 50 because like from the second half onwards, I thought Pittonet played the game to his strengths in the terms of that he just made it awkward. He was a nuisance. Grundy was always going to win that battle. Look, I've never been a huge two ruckman man, Terry, to be honest. I think I maybe give ruckman no respect. I just feel like it's just such a pointless position that one man can do it. It's one job, Terry. It's standing there and tapping it at worst.
Do you know which?
But I wonder if Pittonet's never played a lot of game time. So maybe it is, Terry. Maybe someone at the football club can tell me and say Pittonet will never, ever be able to play 4 quarters.
There's a guy I watched yesterday who I wish we had that type in the team for this exact conversation. Jake Riccardi, because he played in the forward line and then he's 198, so he plays in the ruck. I've recently compared Kemp to Riccardi. I didn't realize that Kemp is 6 centimeters shorter than Riccardi, so I don't think Kemp can chop out in the ruck. Maybe he can. I don't know. I doubt it. But yeah, a Jake Riccardi type, like Hudson O'Keefe. It's almost like if Hudson O'Keefe was 3 more years developed in the system right now, then maybe he would be ready. But like an agile, dual position, forward ruck that can chop out for Pitto, but mostly plays as a forward.
Yeah, look, in the ideal world, Terry, that's the dream. That's the dream. Is it Hudson O'Keefe? Hopefully. Look, I'm willing to give Liam Reidy a try, though. Like, watching him last year in the Waffle, he was actually a handy little forward as well. So maybe there's a point of difference there for him. I was just surprised that he only played 60% of the game. Like, that was the one surprise for me. Like, if he'd played 70, 80, like a Riccardi, like a Marty, and there was another predominant role, I would have been like, okay, you've got no key forwards. Makes sense. Just felt a bizarre selection. But don't get me wrong. Absolutely zero chance we lost the game because Liam Reidy was in the team. Zero.
Yeah,
not a reflex. This game wasn't lost at selection. Like, far from it. Like, maybe lost on list management because we didn't sign 18 new players in the off-season. But it wasn't selection. So Liam Reidy playing or not, Carlton lose that game by 70.
All right. So 2.5 for Reidy. Let's go to some of these next ones. All right. We'll start here. Player of the game. Clearly, Marc Pittonet. The Horizon Finance player of the game, Marc Pittonet. I don't know how many times he's been player of the game, but I'm happy to see it.
I don't think he has, to be honest, but well done, Mr. Worldwide. Like, I talked about it in the preview. Everyone was blowing smoke, and I talked about it on Monday with Terry up the new ruckman Zars, and I was like, Pittonet's probably the last of the famous international playboys left, the old school rucks, and he just gave people a reminder, didn't he? That that maybe the big fucker ain't dead yet.
Now I've got a question for the chat. Who is this week's winner of the Horizon Finance Group 1%ers award? Who had the most 1%ers in the game? I'll give you a minute, whether you're watching this on YouTube or X. Type below, type in the comments, who had the most 1%ers, and do not check the stat sheet.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. For Carlton. So obviously this is at the Carlton side of things. Christian says Dean.
Dominic, he looks quite good, doesn't he? Actually, I think whoever took that picture has done him an absolute solid, doesn't he? Like Pittonet, he's a good-looking boy in real life, but he's nailed it in the image.
Yeah, Harry Dean, Ollie H. Any other guesses? I'll give you like 30 more seconds. Dean. This is a really interesting answer from people. BA, Elijah, Walsh.
I'll give you a clue as well. Give you a clue. This gentleman, based on round 0 so far, had the second most 1%ers in any game.
Really?
There's only one player out there at the minute with more 1%ers. That is Harris Andrews.
Wow. All right. Chat. I'm disappointed. I'm going to say it. I'm disappointed. Not one of you has even come close, because it was Lewis Young.
That's bad times, chat, isn't it? Yeah,
Chat, that's a disgrace.
Dear. So remember, by AFL definition, right, it's spoils, smothers, knock-ons, shepherds, anything that aids teammates in the ability to impact keeping the ball, but spoils, smothers, shepherds, knock-ons. Interesting start. It's often the forgotten about thing. It's one of the stats, though, that a lot of old school people will always say it. Will always say, "Oh, it's the 1% that makes you." People doing the 1%ers win to your flags. This is why that stat that was created genuinely to try and prove that theory. It's often a flawed stat, because be careful what you wish for. You none of you got it, but well done, Lewis, first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely.
But why does he win it? Him punching the ball, spoiling the ball instead of marking it, things like that. That does help. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, he's done it. Played to his strengths, and well done, Lewis. I mean, look, second most in the league. So Harris Andrews, then Lewis. Harris Andrews, Lewis. Spot on, pants on dogs. Yeah. So look, is it a flawed start? Yes. But you know what? Bit of fun. And congratulations, Lewis, man. You've copped a lot of fucking hate, but you had 9 more 1%ers than any other cunt. So not that
Hold on. This was not a flawed stat in the chat when Jack Silvani was winning the award last year, because he plays his guts out, plays for the jumper. Where's the number one?
But to give chat some credit, second for Carlton on 7, Harry Dean. And look, stat is a stat, right? It needs context. I will say this, though, with young Harry Dean, very interesting little statistical point for you with Harry Dean is that he that is on average for his position 3 more than most players of his age will have. So Harry Dean did well. Mitch McGovern had 7 as well. So incredible work. But yeah, look, 11's a lot, man. 11's a lot.
All right, let's have a look at the team, the full picture of the team, and what we can tell from this. Okay. So obviously the ratings are harder. They get harder every year. It's hard to score well in this system. So knowing that, what's your summary here?
Well, I mean, look,
realistically, last year you were sort of saying we want a lot of 5.5, 6s across the board, but it seems like it's going to be a lot harder to get that this year.
It's going to be harder, but it's the statistical categories we're rating them on are just more refined versions of the were before. So why it's harder is this rating now wants well-roundedness. It doesn't want Flash Harris. So like the old rating system, Marc Pittonet would have been a 10 last year for kicking 3 goals. But the new rating systems are like goals are kind of a byproduct of good ruckcraft.
Yep.
So it's punished him quite heavily for ruckcraft, but rewarded him there. So what are we looking for here? Well, I mean, for a starter, everyone has to be yellow.
Right.
For a start. And for every red, you need a blue for this to really be a well-humming team. That's how you've got to think. We need a purple for every red that we get. But I mean, look, it's a reflection of the game. Like, they played a quarter and a half, Terry. It's the best way I could describe it. Like, is it harsh? Yes. But the only way you improve in life is harsh, honest feedback. And that second half wasn't good enough for an amateur side, let alone a professional side, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. Let's have a look and see what it looks like for the opposition. So you've highlighted some players here with their rating and their heat maps. So let's talk about Justin McInerney. Obviously, he gets a big pump up here because he kicked goals. He played forward of the ball.
So this is a traditional wing role. So remember, we had Ollie Hollands, who had like kind of that. If you just take the little red where all them blue are on the left, top left of that, we kind of had that on the right because that's where he was. He was our attacking wing. This is Justin McInerney playing that attacking winger's position, who most teams float their attacking winger through half forward. So that's what you see here. But you can see there's some defensive work as well, like you'd expect to see a wingman do. This is probably, to repeat what we said last year, exactly what Carlton are missing. We need a winger that is ahead of the ball. Now, watching Elijah this week, maybe this is probably where you pay him, because I think Elijah's big question mark, and this week, his kicking was atrocious. I've always had a question mark, even in juniors, of Elijah's kicking under pressure. He's got the fitness now. He's running the Ks. He's winning time trials, finishing top 3. Is this a long-term area for Elijah Hollands to be that attacking overlap winger? Time will tell, but great game by Justin McInerney. Absolute pleasure to... One of the highlights of watching this game 4 times was watching Justin McInerney. I enjoyed that.
Then there's Matt Roberts. Why did you want to highlight Matt Roberts? What was it about his game that was important to you?
You saw when you play at the wonderful place that is the SCG, with it being that little bit shorter, more narrower, you start to see little things like this. Halfbacks that heavily hem you in. And you noticed Matt Roberts, didn't you? You noticed Matt Roberts with the give and go, the wonderful goal he kicked, plays really high up the ground, made Carlton really sit deep, real strong player and willing to go on the wing. So this is like another area I wanted to expose where Carlton heavily lost in the second half. Carlton refused to keep their width. And that's the first stage of seeing a Carlton implosion. Carlton nip in. They try and make it a little bit easier, fix their corridor. But Matt Roberts, he kicked his goals by just keeping his width, no one being within cooey of him. Justin McInerney kicked one where the nearest person to him was the guy with the bobble hat on centre wing in the blue shirt. Like, the Carlton players were nowhere near him. This is another area for Michael Voss on a high level, right, is you've got to keep your width. And for some reason, our wingers become auxiliary centre midfielders when we're under pressure, and they expose you. Good teams expose the width.
Yeah. And then finally, we're going to look at Isaac Heaney. Why did you look at Isaac Heaney? What was the... I wanted
to show you just what the AFL, what our rating systems value. Right, what our AFL systems value, and our systems value impact, right? Impact and ability. So 32 touches for Sam Walsh, only 20 touches, same amount of clearances, 4 times the amount of tackles, but more importantly, the 2 goals from Isaac Heaney. So this is what I mean. Why the midfielders are heavily criticised in this system is today's game is won in the midfield and at halfback. They are the most important players on the field at the minute. All the top teams play that way. So forwards are finishers, halfback midfielders control the game. And there's the difference, the big difference. And I could have picked any midfielder from Sydney, really. Any midfielder that I wanted. Could have been row bottom, another player that had limited touches. Could have been Goulden, could have been Chad Warner, but fascinating that not one inside midfielder for Sydney had more than 20 touches.
Wow. I like it. I like this harsh rating system. It's good. Keeps it level and balanced.
But yeah, Heaney, man.
Yeah, man.
Fucking Chad Warner as well. I'm sick
and he
of
was
seeing-
off for a little bit too because of the head knock.
Can I just say I'm sick of seeing that little fucking shaved head knob run through Carlton's midfield. Like Chad Warner needs to get a life.
How's the change of direction? It might have been in the third or fourth quarter from Chad Warner. He was running like in a straight line, and then he just started sidestepping.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it's 11 minutes into the fourth. The one that really pissed me off is he absolutely bursts away. Hewett's chasing him, and then he has the audacity to double back and beat him again. Like, absolute piss taker is that guy. Like, genuinely. Look, I don't condone violence, but that is one time that I wish someone would have fucking flattened the guy. Like, absolute Peter Ian Staker to stop, turn around, and let Hewett catch up to burn him again.
man. Yeah. So
fair play though. If you're good, you're good. You're Terry, and fair play to him. Look, no animosity from me. Sydney, too quick, too good, too brilliant. Well done. On to the next one.
No, that was great. So there's your ratings for opening round, guys. Let us know if you like the Sunday morning time slot. Do you like a bit of Sunday morning television or YouTube? Because we could have this happen again on a weekend. We could do it on a Sunday morning potentially, depending on the schedule. Obviously, for Thursday night games, it works. If it's a Saturday game, it's not going to work Sunday morning. But let us know. Also, if you want to look at some of the work in the reserves. If you're watching this on X, you'll need to move over to YouTube because in the chat, I've got the link to the reserves report. I went there. Equality, yeah, it actually is good to have you here for a live show, given you're all the way in the US. So I think this is a perfect time slot for you. But yeah, look, good to be back. Pommy, great to be back with you. That was fun. That was good.
As always, my pleasure. I love watching these games 3 or 4 times. Nothing I'd rather do with my time.
Where can we watch you tonight? Are you doing the watch along for the Collingwood game?
I'm not. If you have got a ticket to the coaches panel, I am one of the special guests of their live show. So I will be casting my unexpert eye on all things Supercoach. So it's at the Collingwood Wine and Whiskey Tavern, I believe, 5 o'clock. So I'm looking forward to that. So I will be there taking Mrs. Pom on a date. So Mrs. Pom gets to date me talking shit about football for an hour.
Love it.
You
all right,
don't
guys.
be my wife.
Well, if you enjoyed this show and you are not subscribed to our channels, we would ask that if it was valuable enough for you and you got some sort of entertainment from it, to hit the subscribe button if you haven't, for Pommy and Oz and for the Blue Abroad YouTube channels. And we will see you soon. We'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
Go Blues.